Taco Tuesday and Cinco de Mayo, and we have them all together, only we're in lockdown. And the tacos you will make will be at your home. Nice to see everybody on board. This is the Coffee Break Show. We go live every single day, Monday through Friday. We share tips, techniques, tools, and transformations and discussions, and we have successes, and everybody has a conversation. We all get together and we say hello. If you're new here, put your name down below so that I can say hello to you, get to know you. And if you are here every single day, thank you. I am so appreciative of you having your cup of joe. I have a really big one right here and hanging out with us today. I had an epiphany, and I wanted to run my epiphany by you guys and say, what do you think? What do you think? How is this? Is this true for you? We hitting it on the right thing? I see you guys popping on, and I just want to say good morning. Look at this. Hola, hola, hola. ¿Cómo estás usted? Happy Cinco de Mayo, Roberto. So glad that you're on. Thank you for being here. Feliz Cinco de Mayo, says Karen. This is a good one right here. Feliz Cinco de Mayo. Tina on my Taco Tuesday. Friel, I love you. This woman makes the best tacos ever, and I'm just going to visualize my tacos today and say good morning, Tina. So glad you're on. Welcome. So as we get to go ahead and we're partying on the Cinco de Mayo day, it's a work day for me, so I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be sharing good morning. I want to hear your epiphany. Thank you. Buenos dias, Roberto. So what happened in the latter? Oh, look at this. Susie's on with us. Hola. Happy Cinco de Mayo around the world. I want to celebrate my head. I did have an epiphany. I want to share it with you. And, you know, I always talk about there being, look at this, Coronas for all, blah, blah, bada bing. He's here all week. Have the veal. Let's see. No pressure. Laugh out loud. Already, Robert, I loved your Cinco de Mayo post. Laugh out loud. I did too as well. I did like it. And so while we're all here celebrating independence, while we're all here celebrating the things that are interesting in our life right now, I saw a sign that said liberty and tyranny, and it was spelled wrong. And it was spelled liberty. They forgot the R, and tyranny was tranny. So there was a bit of misspelling in it. And I thought liberty and tranny, and they were very serious. They put the sign on the front lawn, and it said liberty or tyranny is what they wanted to talk about. And so one of the things that I thought to myself is, what is liberty? What is freedom? What actually is it? Is it the I have rights and you can't take my rights away? Or is it the right to pursue your happiness? And so what I found for me today in my epiphany is that there are two things that are happening in the world for me. And for me, one of them is that people think the government is against them or the government is for them. So that mindset of liberty or tyranny, that mindset of what's going on where people say, good morning, Teresa. Nice to see you on. I love this. This is a good morning. Hi, Vickie. Nice to see you on. One of the things that's very serious for me is self-responsibility, because I think the way my mind thinks is that I believe that I have been gifted, if you will, the power to create. And I think that came at birth, the power to create. Then the next power I got was, these are my superhuman powers, the power to transform, the power to create, and the power to transform. Transforming is different than creating, because transforming is something inside you that you want to make different. You already have it, but you want to shape it differently. And creating is making something happen out of nothing. You take an idea and suddenly you create. It's the power of that. That's the freedom and liberty. And so I also believe that you get what you believe in life. And I think that is the most important thing that we can learn. You get what you believe in life. And I also believe there's a little bit of karma attached to it. I believe that karma plays an instance or a role to show us something. And if we don't learn the lesson, it'll come back and do it again and again and again and again until you learn the lesson. And then the karma dissolves at that point. So I feel very empowered with tools that help me create, transform, and ascend, if you will. And so the epiphany I had today was, is my world the way I see it what is unfolding? And if so, is it unfolding in such a way that I feel like one of those people who are looking at liberty or tyranny? Is the government for you or against you? Or is it a little bit of both? And I kept thinking to myself, if I see the world in things that are for me or against me, I'm missing the point. If I see the world as something outside of myself, I stop utilizing the gifts that I have to create the things that I want. Now, when I get into the unknown zone, like I think I call this the unknown zone. What the unknown zone is, nobody really knows what's going to happen yet. We know that there's going to be losses and things like that, but they're all speculations until it happens. You know, when that speculation comes through, it's all speculation until it happens. Yes, believe and receive. You get what you believe. That's what Oprah Winfrey said. She said, you don't get what you want in life. You get what you believe in life. And we have to stop looking. We have to start looking and stop thinking about what we want and start looking at what we believe. Good morning. How are you, Jane? So nice to have you on board. Excellent epiphany. Thank you. I want to get to the point where I'm asking you, what are you creating with your beliefs? Because we get what we believe. Now, what I wanted to do was take my power of transformation and look at it and say, what am I creating with my current beliefs? And why am I creating them? What do I believe about reality? What do I believe about my life? And so, for instance, let's see, people who have a trust issue will never experience freedom. I love Stephen's stuff. Stephen just says stuff that I love this. People who have a trust issue will never experience freedom. I believe my creativity comes from the fact that I feel free to become anything I want. Thank you. I don't worry about things I have no control over. Yeah. Why would you? Why would you worry about things you have no control over? But what if you had a superhero magic thing that said you could create anything you want? Because I have found in my lifetime that I can create excuses to stop me from doing something. I can create excuses to make me lazy and not work or not towards my goals. I can also make it so that my drive comes up and I achieve the goals I want. I have those two powers. And whichever one you choose, that's fine. But know who's choosing it. Because the second you choose the second you choose that thought, the second you choose that belief starts coming. But here's the thing, we can change our beliefs, and it's work. It's a lot of work to do so. But we can also have, what do they call them, kind of general beliefs that may not be too empowering, that we learn from other people that we may not even really believe. We may not believe at all that thing. I had this memory pop up. For a long time, this was a defining moment for me. I was like 16 years old, and I got my first car, and I would drive to work, and come home and go to school with it every day. And so one day I realized that I had picked up a habit from my dad that I didn't have. So all the time that I'd not been driving around, my dad would drive the car. And when he drove and like somebody cut him off or somebody did something illegal on the lane that bothered my dad, man, he would cuss. He'd be all about the cursing, and he'd be flipping people the bird and, everything else. And he would cuss. He'd be like, you mother, you do bleep, 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 bleep. He gets so mad at their thing. And I would be scared to death because, if my dad if he lost his mind about anything, it was road rules. Road rules were to be obeyed. And, if you cut him off, if you were blowing by him, or he had to slam on his brakes because you pulled in front of him. And it would take a long time. It wouldn't just be an incident that happened. Like hours later, he'd still be talking about the jerk on the freeway. Like he just had this habit. So now I'm 16 and I'm going up the freeway and somebody cut me off. And I did exactly what my father did. I screamed and yelled and blah, blah. In the middle of it, I said, hey, that's not me. I don't do that. My dad did. And it was the first time I was ever able to separate my actions from the actions I observed. And a lot of times when we grow up, we take on actions that we observe without questioning whether they're ours. And when we do that, after a while, when we take them on, if we don't stop them at that moment, they become ours. And then we pass them on to our kids because we demonstrate that same behavior, that same action right in front of them over and over and over and over again. So the question is you get to a point where you get to choose what you believe. My dad was very cynical. He would have said something like, the government and the corporations are out to kill you and ruin you and blah, blah, blah. And it gave him an excuse to not even try, to not figure out how he could get out of it, to not free himself. And then it's like, if you think that you're strapped up and tied up like with ropes and everything, and you're not trying to figure out how to wiggle out of the ropes or set yourself free in some way, there's part of you that is a belief that you're so captured that you cannot do anything about it. And that is the belief behind a lot of people. They're like, we cannot do anything about it. Is that true? Can you not do absolutely anything about it? Is that really true? So the epiphany for me came up and I thought, what if that wasn't true? What if I was actually empowered enough to do something? And what if I was quietly making an excuse for myself that I couldn't break through because of this perceived block in front of me? So I want to let you know, there's two things I have found out. One is the mind loves to make problems. The soul of you, it doesn't have any problems. It doesn't matter what problem got there. The soul could tell you what to do, what's your next best move right then. And sometimes we give credence to the mind because it lets us off the hook. It lets the part of us that doesn't want to go through that to go through that. It lets the part of the mind have a rest and say, yes, I'm in control now because they're not doing anything. And then there are times when karma comes in and you're forced to do something, to step out of your comfort zone, to create a new life. A lot of times it comes in the form of illness for people. And knock on wood, that hasn't ever happened to me. Knock on wood. Thank you, Jesus. That thing right there forces people to meet themselves in a new way. It forces people to start using the gifts that they have of transformation and to be able to create and to evaluate and then meet your beingness. Because we love to meet the mind, but we don't often meet ourselves, and what we are is the soul. So Stephen says, I love to hear people say, if it weren't for you, my life would be better. We create excuses to empower our thoughts. I love to hear people say, if it weren't for you, my life would be better. Wow. We create excuses to empower our thoughts. Yes. And I want to let you know that that's the whole point of this right there, is that line right there. We create excuses to empower our thoughts. or empower our disillusionment. Excuses are nothing more than a form of self-sabotage that we have accepted. Like we're willing to self-sabotage ourselves. And I know I have a bajillion excuses as to why I do things. And that we have to understand, if we have the power to make an excuse that will transform an action, we have the power to also transform the excuse to make a new action, to make something different or better or more. And that seems to be the belief or the life that we go to. And it's like when you get stuck in that, the principle of this is so important, because if you're living a life where you think the government is against you, you're living a life where you believe things line up against you, not for you. And if you believe the government is for you, then you can live a life that you think things are for you. Maybe you think, well, it's a combination of both. I'm not trying to talk you out of what you think. I'm trying to talk you into how you operate so that you can create and not think. And the difference is, how can you create and not think? It's Cinco de Mayo. We want some independence. And the thing about having independence and liberty and freedom is that liberty and freedom are never free. They take a lot of work, and they take an understanding of how you operate in the world, how you exist in the world, and how can you champion your best interests for you. Not always for someone else, but for you. How can you be your best, most powerful champion? And in order to do that, you have to champion the thing that you need liberty from. Isn't the laws we have. You need liberty from many of the thoughts that you think, or how you think, or that your brain is in charge of everything. And that we think that we're practical when the brain gives us a negative statement and we believe it. Like, we can't do that because we don't have enough money. We can't go there because we don't have enough money. And no part of you says, how can I make enough money to go there and bring my family there? That thing there, that is the liberty piece, is the 6 inches between your ears. That's the one that you have to begin to control and not have it control you as much. And isn't that the work? Isn't that the thing we practice every single day? I mean, it's like there is a point where we have the point there that we have our own liberty to attend to. You have to know you're in a position to attempt to get out of it, of your circumstances. I totally agree with that. So many are stressed. They don't even know that they're the string to unwind a ball of yarn where yarn is at. I agree with that too. Robin, this is so right. Often we don't realize we are blaming others, and that is self-sabotage. Let's go here. This is a great point. Often we don't realize that we are blaming others, which actually just limits ourselves, stopping our progress or our ability to have solutions. When we can blame it on the corporations, we forget to take action in a different way. Now, I'm not saying that corporations aren't doing some of the things we're doing. I'm saying you're not stuck. You're not stuck. You have superhuman powers. My dad was one of those. Don't question authority, believers. He said that rules were there for reasons, and the people in charge were in charge because they were supposed to be. I grew up in the 60s, and I said, baloney. You know what? Me too. Grew up in the 60s as well. Baloney. We are always part of powers that we have. I like this. I love this analogy, Susie. I'm a fiendish knitter. Sometimes we just need a teeny tiny step to move forward. That empowers us to take the next step. Yes. I love this right here. I live in America, and that empowers me to be free. And I'm willing to put the time and energy to keep that freedom. My father came to America to be free and taught us how to love America. Yes. And on any Independence Day, whether it's freedom anywhere, the most important freedom that you can express is the ability to express your soul's longing. I want to say that again. The biggest freedom that you have is the expression of your soul's longing. It's not always about the thought or the creative idea. It's the soul's longing. And what's the difference? Hang on, I want to stop here. I grew up in a religious family, so there wasn't a lot of critical thinking. Plus, obeying the law of the land was part of being a moral person. That is correct. That's correct. That is, families grew up like that all the time. I'm not saying be a renegade and block authority or, be the authority, whichever that is. I'm saying that freedom isn't in your mind, it's in your soul. And freedom is a very precious, precious gift. It's like if you look at hundreds of thousands of years, people were enslaved and they're still enslaved right now. You're either enslaved to your mind, you're enslaved to your beliefs, you're enslaved to anything else. And if you want that freedom, it's the hard work that has to be done. And a lot of people want to have the easy street. They love to blame and they love to make excuses. It's not a popular conversation to sit here and say, how can we become more self-responsible? How can we make things more independent for ourselves? But the future is about that. It's going to not be about leaning on governments and leaning on corporations or leaning on paychecks and things. I think there are going to be benefit cuts and everything else. And for those people who are, and I want to be really clear, I know there's some people who depend on disability and are veterans and things like that. I think they need some support, and I'm willing to support those kinds of people. And don't be so disempowered that you allow your thoughts to run your life. Don't be so disempowered not to choose the thought, because the thought becomes the thing. So it's like going to the grocery store. Did you pick the right can of whatever you're buying? Did you put the whatever you wanted into your cart that you wanted to put in your cart? Were you trying to pick up bananas, but instead picked up dish soap and forgot the bananas completely? Our thoughts create the world that exists. And so we have to become aware enough to choose what it is that we're creating. Whatever belief you hold is spinning your world, and you get to choose that belief. So today I want to leave you with this. This is the epiphany I got. I was watching a Will Smith video a few months back, and I thought it was very interesting because he said, I have a whole legal department that works for me. I don't even bother with that. I just let my attorneys do that. I have like 12 of them that work for me. And I thought, 12 of them? And then I thought, a lot of people think attorneys are shysters and things like that. But not Will Smith. He had a whole department of it. And he's like, well, you have to have contracts for movies, contracts for that, contracts. And I was like, yes, his business needs attorneys. He actually saw the value of having an attorney and having a department of attorneys that do stuff for him, because he said, when I was younger, I got in a little bit of tax trouble. And you guys know that because everybody saw it on the news, and we're like, yeah, and he went broke being in that mindset. So when he got his wealth again, he didn't try to, screw the man. He employed the man. And that's a different mindset. Now he employs the man that helps him build his wealth, keep himself law-abiding and in that moment. And I thought, yes, I don't think lawyers are all bad. They're all not shysters or trying to get your money or, everything else. They're here to represent you, etc. And when you begin to see the value of something, then you might understand that there's value in it. So I thought, okay, what is the value in this pandemic? What is the value of the government right now? What is the value of what we have right now? And how can we utilize that more? That's when things begin to shift. And I want to invite you to take a look at what it is you're saying and invite you to think and say, what is the value of the thing that I think isn't valuable? Or what is the value of the belief that I think, people did this and they're doing that and blah, blah, blah. The truth is somewhere in the middle I think the truth is that there's somewhere in the middle. I think there's ways that everybody serves well and probably doesn't serve as well. I think that that value in that area is up to me to see, because I also want the people to see the value in me. So if I can't see the value in the world, how can I see the value in myself? How can I see the value in you if I'm unwilling to look at the value something brings? I want to go to the next thing. Here it is. Then I ask myself, and I use this word a lot myself, how do they enrich you? Don't make a complaint anymore. How does this thing enrich you? Like all the people who complained about the government but got their check in the mail, they got a check in the mail. How it's something. How does this thing enrich you? And enriching things is also a mindset, isn't it? So today I want to invite you on this Independence Day to talk about real independence and tacos. So I want to plop this in from Donnie, and oops. Well, it said here, I was a paralegal for over 20 years and I've seen all kinds of lawyers. Thank you. I bet they're out there. I bet there's some good ones and some slimy ones. That's kind of with any job, any industry. One day in the garden, I saw a path. Everyone was on the path. They were all smiling in different places on the path. The soul is always happy. Yes. They asked me, what have you learned? Pausing for a moment, the answer was the only you can make yourself happy. Yes. I want to read that again because it was sloppy. One day in the garden, I saw a path. Everyone was on the path and they were all smiling in different places on the path. The soul is always happy. Soul is always happy. They asked me, what have you learned? I paused for a moment. The answer was only you can make yourself happy. Thank you. That's beautiful. And that's kind of the truth. And I want to go back here again, because you know what? I'm an ex-cop and I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly as well. And I know that people that work as paralegals work under some probably pig-headed, arrogant, really, hard people to work with. And yet I believe also that there are some great attorneys out there. Want to go here. Couldn't agree with you more on the truth is in the middle. Perspective. Yes. Thank you, Barb. Of course, we always agree. I love that. Doesn't all come down to perspective? Yes, it does. But the thing about this, Scott, that is so important, perspective creates your reality, doesn't it? And I know you know that because you wouldn't have said, doesn't all come down to perspective. Every single experience has some value baked in. Otherwise, the experience wouldn't have been offered to you. And that's the beauty of it. How does this enrich me? How is it, what is the thing what's the benefit? How does it enrich me? We can always say how it sucked or how it was really bad. People focus on that all the time. We love negativity for some reason. We love negative intimacy. You have to stop and force yourself to say to yourself, how is this enriching to me? Where is this of value to me? And listen to that soul, because he's right. The soul is always happy. Thank you for this. A great perspective, Donald, is what I heard here. I love that. My faith gives me the freedom to be who I am. Faith is what keeps me free. Yes, that's right. Here it is. Yes. Wow, I love that. What is my lesson here? What is the benefit of this experience? The value is baked in it. That's a keeper. I agree. You guys, I want you to express your freedom today and have just absolutely an awareness that what if everything brought to you was brought to you to enrich you in some way? What if it was brought to you to help you grow and have certain quality of life? Teresa says, I worked for some of the toughest lawyers in Asheville. Several people told me that if I could work for them, I could work for the devil himself. They were tough. That's why they were so good. I learned a ton from them. Yes, thank you. And it's like we have to start seeing the value of what's happening and how enriching it is. And when we do, we have to notice that your perspective, just the thing Scott was talking about, your perspective creates your reality. And we are definitely at a time where we can reimagine anything. Anything is possible. Reimagining. That's what the whole world is doing right now. It's a moment in time where liberty is going to be won. Liberty is going to be won through you, not for you. All right, you guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Mwah. Peace out. Bye.